This is the exact federal courtroom testimony from the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. The courtroom was completely silent as the judge called the next witness, and all eyes turned toward the back as a familiar face stepped forward, one that no one expected to see. Usher Raymond, the Grammy-winning R&B star, was about to testify. Not about his music or a label dispute, but about what really happened behind the closed doors of Sean Diddy Combs' empire. For years, Usher stayed quiet. He played along, smiled during interviews, and avoided tough questions. But now, with Diddy facing federal charges including trafficking, coercion, and running a criminal network of abuse, Usher has finally decided to reveal the truth, a truth, he says, that has been weighing on him for years. From what he saw as a 14-year-old under Diddy's care to what he later came to understand about the dark side of the entertainment world, this testimony is not just shocking, it's historic and could change everything. Usher started by telling the court about the day his mother told him he was going to live with Diddy in New York. At the time, he was just 14, fresh off his first album, and hungry to rise in the music world. L.A. Reid had set up the mentorship, believing that being around Diddy would speed up Usher's success. What no one expected was the kind of life Usher was about to enter. "I thought I was going to learn how to be a star," Usher told the court, his voice calm but tense. "What I saw instead were things no teenager should be near." Usher explained that from the moment he arrived at Diddy's Midtown Manhattan penthouse, the place was full of excess. Champagne was served at breakfast, strangers were waking up in rooms he didn't know existed, and people he had seen on TV and in magazines were walking around half-dressed or unconscious. It wasn't a home, it was a scene. He said they called it the Flavor Camp. "I didn't know what that meant," Usher said. "I thought it was just a brand name." Later, he realized it stood for indulgence. The court listened closely as Usher described how the mentorship quickly changed. Diddy wasn't teaching him about singing or performing. Instead, Usher said he was pushed to watch the lifestyle, party with celebrities, and stop asking questions. "He told me, this is how we do it. You don't ask, you just watch. Learn by watching. That's how grown men roll." Usher remembered one night when he woke up around 3 a.m. and saw people in masks entering the apartment. Music played quietly and candles lit the hallway. He walked into the living room and saw what he could only call a ritual-style party. It wasn't just sex, there was an order to it. There were cameras, lists, and no one seemed surprised. "I thought maybe I had walked into a movie set. I remember thinking I shouldn't be seeing this," Usher said. He was told to go back to bed, but he didn't sleep that night. That was the moment he said everything changed in how he saw Diddy. The next part of Usher's testimony focused on the warnings he never got. Not from his record label, not from his mother, and not from anyone in the industry, even though many knew what Diddy's world really looked like. "People thought Diddy was just different," Usher explained. "They didn't understand he had control over people in a way that was quiet but complete. If he didn't like you, your career stopped. If he liked you, your silence was part of the deal." Usher told the jury that there were others like him, young artists brought into the circle, promised a quick path to fame, but gradually pulled into Diddy's world in ways they couldn't fully grasp at the time. He didn't name anyone yet, but hinted that more people would come forward. "There were people around us who saw what was happening. Assistants, drivers, other musicians, and everyone acted like it was normal, but deep down, they knew the adults had failed us." One particularly disturbing moment came when Usher described a private trip to the Caribbean that Diddy took him on when he was 15. It was supposed to be a retreat, just the two of them and a few others. The location was remote, with no press and no cameras, and that's when Usher realized he wasn't there to learn anything about music. He paused and said, "I won't go into everything, but what I will say is that I wasn't given a choice about the environment I was put in, and it took me years to understand the manipulation." The courtroom was silent. Usher said that after that trip, his relationship with Diddy changed. The music mogul became more controlling. There were always new people around, more parties, more rules, and whenever Usher tried to push back even a little, he was reminded who controlled his career. Diddy told him, "You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Remember who gave you this life." Usher ended that part of his testimony by looking directly at Diddy and saying, "You didn't give me this life, you gave me nightmares." The third portion of Usher's testimony was possibly the most shocking. He spoke about being presented with a contract at age 16 that included a confidentiality clause. Though it was labeled as a basic non-disclosure agreement meant to protect Bad Boy Records' internal business, Usher claimed it had specific wording about private events self-defense and the need for silence. At the time, I didn't even know what half the words meant, he told the court. My mother had to co-sign it and the label's lawyers said it was normal, but looking back, I know what it really was. A contract to keep me quiet. He said he signed it because he trusted them. That signature bought my silence for years. I wasn't allowed to talk about the parties, the guests, or the behavior. I was told that speaking out would damage the brand. But what about what it did to me? Usher said the clause was used again years later when he tried to open up about his experiences. In 2009, I was preparing for an interview with a major magazine. The questions started getting personal, and then I got a call from Bad Boy's old legal team. They reminded me about the NDA and said, "We hope you're not trying to ruin your reputation." He said he canceled the interview. But it wasn't just legal pressure. Usher claimed he got subtle threats from people still connected to Diddy's world, even people he hadn't spoken to in years. You think you're done with that world, but it's never done with you. If you step out of line, there are consequences, not just to your career, but to your safety. The courtroom sat frozen as Usher pulled out a copy of the NDA and the judge accepted it into evidence. It included phrases about audiovisual content and unauthorized sharing, wording that now felt ominous in light of Diddy's rumored video. Archives. Usher's voice cracked as he said, "That document made me feel like I was losing my mind for years. Like everything I saw and everything I felt wasn't real because I wasn't allowed to say it out loud." His voice wavered as Usher described a lesser-known moment from 1996 when he was just 17 years old and Diddy took him to an exclusive mansion party in Atlanta, a night that would forever change how he viewed the man he once saw as a mentor. According to Usher, Diddy was in full host mode, entertaining a house filled with celebrities, models, and mysterious men who didn't appear to be part of the music scene. Usher said he wasn't prepared for what he would see next. The mansion was extravagant, marble floors, security at every door, and a DJ playing until the sun came up. But what stood out wasn't the glamour, it was a secret room. Usher told the court that he remembered Diddy whispering to a guard, who then unlocked a door at the back of the mansion. Diddy looked at him and said, "You're not ready for that yet," with a grin. But Usher peeked in anyway. There were people in masks. "That's all I'll say," he recalled. "I didn't understand what I was seeing." Then he said something that made the entire courtroom shift in their seats. "I think that night changed me," Usher confessed. "I saw things I still can't explain. I don't know if it was legal, but I know it wasn't right." He then held up photocopied pages from a journal he had kept since 1998, at first for lyrics and thoughts, but over time it became a vault for personal memories and reflections about his time around Diddy. One entry dated March 1999 read, "Had dinner with Diddy and 3 execs I didn't know. They kept talking about loyalty, said loyalty keeps you on tour, honesty puts you back home." Diddy laughed. Another entry from October 2000 described a Thursday night where Usher was invited but chose not to attend. "Too many secrets, too many masks." Diddy says it's just the culture. "I don't agree." The prosecutor asked, "Did you ever tell anyone about these entries?" Usher shook his head. "I was afraid of losing everything. I didn't think anyone would believe me." When asked why he was sharing them now, Usher answered, "Because I've lived with it long enough, it's time the truth comes out." He leaned into the microphone and revealed something he said he hadn't even told his closest friends. In 1997, when he was 18, Diddy invited him to Miami to meet a powerful investor who could allegedly fund his first world tour and help grow his brand. "I thought it was business," Usher said. "Diddy hyped it up like it was the biggest opportunity of my life, told me to dress sharp and be respectful. But when he arrived at a penthouse suite at the Setai Hotel, he found 3 men in robes, sipping expensive champagne with several young women sitting quietly in the background. One of the men, who Usher said was from overseas, asked him, 'Do you want to be remembered forever?' And it wasn't about music," Usher said. Diddy left him alone with the men. "I felt trapped," he said. "They didn't touch me, but one of them put his hand on my shoulder and said, 'You can stay or you can leave, but you'll never get another invitation like this again.'" Usher left and everything began to shift. He was dropped from a tour opportunity and a major producer backed out of a project. "No one said it was because I left that suite," Usher explained. "But after that night, doors that were always open suddenly closed." He also testified that just a few weeks later, Diddy showed him a disturbing video clip recorded on a handheld camera. He laughed while playing the video back. It showed another young artist doing something Usher said he knew the boy would never have agreed to unless someone forced him. "Did Diddy threaten you?" the attorney asked. Usher paused. He didn't have to, he said. The people around him did. They didn't use threats. They used silence and exile. Usher said that moment made him realize fame in Diddy's world wasn't about talent anymore. It was about submission. That's how you stayed relevant. Usher's tone became more personal as the courtroom lights dimmed slightly, with cameras focusing on his face. "This is the hardest part," he said, "because it's not just about me anymore," he began. Speaking about Justin Bieber's early rise, Usher had played a key role in launching the young pop star's career, co-signing him and mentoring him through his first big break. "At first it was all good," Usher said. "I just wanted to be the big brother I never had." But then, he testified, Diddy entered the picture. According to Usher, Diddy started inviting Bieber to parties, using the same phrase from years earlier, flavor camp. He was 15, Usher said, and they were treating him like a grown man. One night in 2011, Usher got a call from Bieber. He didn't say anything at first. I just heard him breathing. Then he whispered, "I want to come home." Usher's team tried to locate him, but Bieber disappeared for 2 days. When they finally met again, Bieber wouldn't look him in the eye. All he said was, "It's fine. I'm good now." But Usher testified he wasn't. Usher said he eventually confronted Diddy directly and asked, "What are you doing to these kids?" Diddy chuckled and replied, "Same thing they did to me. It's how the game works." That, Usher said, was their last real conversation. "After that, I stepped back. I didn't want to be tied to it, but seeing what happened to Justin, I couldn't stay silent anymore." Usher also revealed for the first time that in 2018, he got a call from an unknown number. A voice said, "Tell him to keep his mouth shut, or we'll shut it for him." When asked who he thought was behind it, Usher looked straight at the defense table. "I think you know." He then described the final breaking point in his relationship with Diddy, something he said had never been made public until now. It happened during a private party in the Hollywood Hills in 2002 at a hidden estate few people even knew existed. Usher said he had been invited to meet a new European producer, but when he arrived, it wasn't what he expected. There were no executives, no business meetings, just low lights, guards at every exit, and a strong feeling that something was off. He said phones were taken at the door and guests were handed NDAs, but these weren't ordinary agreements. The language was more intense, more threatening than anything he had seen before. "The vibe was wrong," Usher testified, his voice breaking for the first time. "There were people there who weren't artists. They weren't producers. I realized they were just observers," Usher said, describing several familiar faces at the party celebrities, some of whom had never been publicly linked to Diddy, but he refused to name them on record. Instead, he hinted, if this trial goes on, others will come forward. The most chilling moment came when he recalled trying to leave the party early. He was stopped by a man he didn't recognize and brought into a private room where Diddy was seated. "You're not ready yet," Diddy told him. "You still think this is about music? This is bigger than that." Usher said he left that night and never attended another Diddy-hosted party again. From there, his testimony shifted to Diddy's business practices, not just with him, but with many artists under the Bad Boy label. For the first time, Usher submitted internal emails and early contract drafts. He revealed that as a teen, he signed a development deal that locked him into 5 albums and gave away rights to his masters until age 35. "I didn't know what I was signing," Usher told the court. "I just wanted to sing." He then revealed how others were trapped in similar deals, naming Carl Thomas, Total, Black Rob, and the late Craig Mack. Usher described a pattern. Diddy would pull artists close, promise mentorship and stardom, and once they were no longer useful, or refused to obey, he discarded them. Usher shared that a private accountant once showed him a spreadsheet of unpaid royalties, totaling over $4.3 million. When he brought it to Diddy's attention, Diddy allegedly laughed and said, "If you knew what was really owed to you, you wouldn't sleep at night." Court documents revealed that multiple artists had accepted silent settlements, some paid only enough to reclaim the rights to use their names or perform their songs. One of the biggest bombshells came when Usher testified that in 2011, he tried to organize a secret meeting with other former Bad Boy artists to address their collective grievances. But the meeting never happened. "Someone tipped him off," Usher said. Even more disturbing was his claim that he once witnessed Diddy order the destruction of demo tapes and footage belonging to an artist who had threatened to speak out. "That artist?" Usher paused. He disappeared from public life. I don't know where he is. Nobody does. But I remember his voice, and I remember that he was scared. The courtroom sat in silence. In the final portion of his testimony, Usher broke down when asked why he hadn't spoken up sooner. His answer was both haunting and deeply human. "Because I thought I owed him," he said, voice trembling. "I thought if I stayed quiet, I could still be grateful, but you can't be grateful for a lie." He said the guilt stayed with him for years, especially as he watched other young artists fall into the same trap. "For a long time, I didn't know how to help without destroying everything I'd built. It was always about leverage. And Diddy had all of it." Usher then revealed that in 2016, around the time the infamous Drink Champs clip resurfaced online, he tried to confront Diddy privately, but Diddy's legal team shut him down. What struck the courtroom hardest was an unpublished journal entry Usher wrote the night he walked away from Diddy's mentorship. He read it aloud. "I survived Puffy, but did the kid in me survive? I still don't know." He ended his testimony by turning to the court and saying, "To the victims watching online and the younger generation of artists who still idolize the people on trial, this isn't just about one man," Usher said. "It's about an entire system. A system that told kids like me to stay quiet, to fall in line, to never question the hands that fed us. But I'm here now, and I'm not afraid anymore. Not for me, because I already lived through it. I'm doing this for the ones who didn't." The courtroom was utterly silent. What began as a federal case centered on racketeering and trafficking had transformed into something far larger, a reckoning with decades of silence in the music industry. What the public never knew until now was that at the peak of Usher's fame, just after releasing 8701 in 2001, he vanished from the spotlight for a full week. Industry insiders chalked it up to exhaustion, maybe a break from touring, but in court, Usher revealed the truth. He had checked into a private mental health facility in Northern California under a false name. The cause? A total mental breakdown. Usher testified that the collapse stemmed from unresolved trauma dating back to his teenage years living under Diddy's roof. He admitted that after turning 20, he began experiencing panic attacks, seemingly triggered by harmless things, flashing lights, tight crowds, certain types of music. At first, he didn't understand the connection, but then one night, staying at a New York hotel that used to host one of Diddy's infamous parties, it all came flooding back. "I walked into the hallway," Usher said, "and I smelled the same brand of candles he used to burn. My whole body froze. I started shaking. I couldn't breathe." His team rushed him to the clinic where he spent 5 days under observation. What he told the in-house psychiatrist he told the jury had never been spoken aloud, not even to his closest friends. "I told him I saw things no kid should ever see. I lived in a world where power meant silence, and survival meant smiling. Through it," he paused, then added, "that house, it wasn't just a crash pad. It was a place where dreams were sold, but your soul was the price." Usher testified that the psychiatrist diagnosed him with PTSD, an admission that sent shockwaves through the courtroom and across fans watching around the world. He said it took nearly 2 years of therapy before he could sleep through the night without the nightmares. Though Usher didn't name others directly, he alluded to young artists who had also been close to Diddy, artists who, like him, disappeared, crumbled, or broke down emotionally. "I was lucky I had money to get help," he said. "Some of the others didn't. One of them overdosed. Another tried to end his life. A third, he just vanished." When asked why he kept this secret for more than 2 decades, Usher didn't hesitate. "Because nobody would have believed me in 2001, he said. "Puffy was untouchable, and I was just the kid with the voice. But now the world's finally ready to listen." The courtroom remained still, not just in awe of the confession, but shaken by its implications. That behind every platinum record, every Grammy speech, and every sold-out show, there may have been a silent war raging inside the minds of young artists, just trying to survive. And now, finally, Usher was. Speaking not just for himself, but for every voice that had been drowned out by the music.